Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Courtney Ryan, and today I'm here with a very special guest, one of my really good friends, Shaylee. Say hello to everyone.
Hello.
We are going to be answering some questions that you guys submitted to me on my Instagram. Normally I do these by myself, but it's always nice to get another female perspective, so let's get started. So if you guys don't follow me on Instagram, I asked all my Instagram followers to submit questions. We're going to be answering those today, and if you don't already, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Courtney Christine Ryan. Always love connecting with all of you guys on there, and that's the best way to participate in any kind of Q&A I do. Okay, first question we have here is top 3 fashion and style mistakes that women notice on a date.
So first thing that comes to mind is shoes, because like we were talking about, I feel like a lot of times men go to one pair of shoes as their go-to shoes for every outfit.
Yeah.
And sometimes
then they get beat up.
Yeah, they get beat up, they're dirty, a lot of times they're old because they're, their go-to shoes, but they don't go with every outfit, especially if you're trying to make a first impression, and you might think that's not something a woman's going to notice because it's at your feet, but
we do.
We do.
We do. And another one I think is just things not fitting properly or like no effort being put in at all. I think a lot of guys underestimate the power of how your clothes fit you, and just because you're wearing name brand stuff with logos on it doesn't mean it looks good. That was another thing you mentioned.
Yeah, and logos too, or just graphic tees in general can be really distracting, and they might be paying attention to that more than what you're saying or anything else that you might be wearing. It's just really distracting and not always a good look.
Yeah, for sure. And like I mentioned with the fit, I think you don't want to show up to a date looking like you're supposed to be wearing a V-neck, but it's turned into a U-neck, right? So make sure things are fitting properly. I think that's probably the number one thing I always noticed. Number 2 is best advice to make a good first impression. I think dressing well, a lot of guys also underestimate the power of just showing up and looking like you put effort into your outfit. Being well dressed is a great way to make a good first impression regardless of what you look like.
I agree, and this isn't necessarily appearance-wise, but this is kind of more of just like a piece of advice for while you're on a date. Mm-hmm. Don't be on your phone and be really engaged in conversation. Make eye contact. You don't want to be looking at the time or looking like you have somewhere else to be. Mm-hmm. That alone, women notice that a lot, that you're actually engaged in the conversation and you want to be there.
For sure, and you want to show that you're listening to her and not like looking like you have somewhere else to be or staring at your phone. Right. I went on a date one time with a guy who was like showing me photos on his phone the entire date.
No.
Like trying to like tell me about his life, but like was on his phone the whole date. It was such a turn off.
It was probably like a nervous tick because it's more awkward to have to make eye contact and talk the whole time and keep the conversation going.
Right, so he was just like, look at all these
It
photos.
was like, it was something to lean on, so he didn't have to come up with his own.
Yeah, and also I would say be yourself. I know that people say that, and every time I say that, you guys get mad at me, but I think showing up and being the best version of yourself is important, and be authentic. You don't want to pretend to be someone that you're not to impress someone that wouldn't even like the real you, because your true colors are always going to come out eventually, and it's just going to make everybody look bad and feel let down and disappointed. So just show up and be your authentic self. Question number 3 is, do women intentionally flirt with men for attention but don't have any intentions on being pursued? Yes. I would say 100%.
Yes, and I think this is not just women. I mean, everyone does this, flirting, and it's not always, I wouldn't say it's always for attention, but it's just a fun human like interaction. It's nothing, it shouldn't be harmful. Obviously there's a line where you're leading someone on versus just flirting.
Right.
But
you can tell when it gets to that point. And I think that all of you guys out there need to know what to look for if you're in a situation like that. Like, don't let someone drag you around or lead you on. If you're constantly giving and giving to this girl and she's not giving you anything in return, if your time, effort, and energy is not being reciprocated, you gotta walk away. And at that point, it's kind of on you to be able to remove yourself from that situation. But yeah, girls definitely just talk to guys for attention. I think guys do that too, maybe not in the public as much as women do. Like on TikTok, if you go on TikTok, there are so many videos of girls that do that. So I think it's a little bit more in your face, but yeah, they definitely do.
And I'd add to that too, if a woman is flirting with you and you're confused, like, okay, does this mean that they are automatically interested in me? Mm-hmm. No, I would say like feel it out. Stay calm and just get to know them a little bit more, but don't immediately think because someone gives you an ounce of attention that they want to be in a relationship with you.
Yeah, because sometimes, especially if you're like out in public, I feel like it's a very normal thing for a girl to like go out and just be like flirting with everybody because she's going out. Yeah. So yeah, like she said, read the room and kind of know the situation. Question number 4 is opinion on females proposing to men. Would you propose?
So I know that Courtney is super against this.
Never.
I wouldn't say this is ideal. It's not what you imagine. And it's also, I have talked to men about this before, and I know that sometimes, it can make them feel sort of emasculated, because that's sort of the thing that a man does, when he's feeling like he's ready to take the next step in a relationship.
I think girls get there a lot quicker than men do with
Definitely.
like deciding that they're to that point. So I feel like men are kind of like the gatekeepers of marriage a little
Yeah.
bit.
Which
But
can
yeah,
be
continue.
frustrating, like sometimes
As a woman,
if
yeah.
you've been with somebody for a long time, it can be a little bit, you're kind of getting antsy, and you're like, okay, maybe I should just take matters into my own hands. But the bottom line is, like, you've seen it all over the internet. If he wanted to, he would. So that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, I think that is a step where you kind of have to let the man you're with make on his own. If you have to pressure him so much into it, it's like, do you even want it?
Right.
I feel like if I proposed, I would be like, why am I even in this relationship? Because he clearly doesn't want to take it to the next step with me if I have to be the one to do all of it. So.
And I'll say, while it's not conventional, it's something that you maybe want to bring up, even like lightly, in a conversation with your significant other, just to see how they feel about it. Maybe some guys are really into that, to a woman like taking control, and like maybe he's just not the type to take initiative and do that, and maybe that would be something really cool for you guys. So it's just something you need to talk about, but it's definitely not for everyone.
For sure. Yeah, I would never, but to each their own. Okay, question number 5 is, what do you think about tattoos?
I obviously love them. I have quite a lot myself, so it would be hypocritical for me to have an issue with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love them.
I don't have tattoos, and I would probably never get one just because I'm too indecisive, and it's not really me. But I do like when men have tattoos, and that was not always the case. I remember in high school, after we graduated, my boyfriend got a tattoo, and I cried because I was so upset. I literally was in tears. Like, it was the biggest deal in the world, and I hated them. But looking back, like, who cares? It's just a tattoo. But yeah, I definitely don't care as much as I used to. I think a lot of guys really pull them off.
And they can really like enhance your look, sort of.
Yeah, like if you have that kind of edgy look.
Yeah.
And Teddy's barber is like covered in tattoos.
Yeah.
And every girl I know was like obsessed with it. So
Yeah.
you can't go wrong, really. Question number 6 is, why do women get upset when you ask, what do you bring to the table? I would say, I think sometimes it's the wording of when, like, how guys ask that. Like, no woman wants to be asked, why are you worthy? Like, shouldn't you just like know that from interacting with her?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
If you have to ask, she's probably not for you.
The qualities that would answer that question, you'll figure that out as you talk to the person, spend time with the person.
They'll speak for themselves.
Yeah, asking it like that is pretty confrontational, and yeah, you're put on the spot, and it's kind of making them feel not good enough because now they have to prove that to you.
Right.
No one likes being asked that question. You probably wouldn't be, happy to hear that question either.
Mm-hmm.
So I think just, keep in mind the certain things that you're looking for in a person, and then just pick them out of, the conversation while you're getting to know somebody.
And you won't have to ask.
You shouldn't have to ask. Don't ask the question.
I know. And I think a lot of guys get confused about that because there are so many YouTube channels where they bring like panels of girls on and they ask them that question, what do you bring to the table? And in a setting like that, it makes sense.
Right.
Because it's more of like, it's for people to learn and know what qualities to kind of look out for. But if you're in a romantic situation with a girl, like if things are not going the way you would like them to go, they're not going to get any better or change by asking her, what do you bring to the table? Like, you should just know that about the person you're with. And if you're not seeing those qualities you're looking for, she's probably not the one for you.
That's exactly what I was going to say. If
Yeah.
you're not sure what she brings to the table, then she's obviously not bringing enough to the table.
Yeah. If you have to ask, that's not a good sign. All right. Okay, number 7 is best way to approach a girl in public.
So when I was thinking about this, I think, don't follow her if you see her somewhere. If you have an opportunity, like you're both at the store in the same aisle or you're both at the same coffee shop or something like that, it's organic to come up to them and maybe say something. But if they're like leaving the gym or leaving somewhere and you like follow them down the street and you're like, hey, it's weird. Like there's a fine line between, like interested and creepy and how that can come off to a girl. So.
And I will say also, a lot of guys, when I've said that in past videos, they're like, well, it's only creepy if she doesn't find you attractive. And I would say that there are lines that you shouldn't cross regardless of what you look like. And she's going to feel uncomfortable regardless of if you look like an alpha chat or whatever the heck terminology some of you guys use. I mean, it really is just like, don't follow her to her car. Don't be waiting at her car. Like, if you can't do it organically and make it feel natural, you are probably better off just not saying anything.
I'd agree. And I also think like, again, like body language and all that. If they don't look like they want to be approached, they probably don't.
Yeah.
And, if you do approach someone and you have the opportunity to do it organically and they're very clearly not interested, leave it alone.
Don't harass
Don't
her.
push her. Don't be like, oh, come on, like, you have a conversation with me. Like, just leave it alone, because now you're going to be just, like, making them angry.
Well, and you're going to, like, solidify the fact that she didn't want anything to do with you if you keep pressuring her.
Right.
She's going to be like, oh, this guy's a weirdo.
And then also always look at the ring finger.
Yeah, make sure she doesn't have a ring on. I know a lot of you guys go after married women, but you probably shouldn't. So, I was going to say something else about this one, too. Approaching, like, at the gym.
Oh, yeah.
So I got a lot of questions also about approaching at the gym, and I would say that one is very polarizing between women who hate it and women who love it. And it's kind of a hit or miss. You just kind of have to go for it. But again, it's like reading the situation and being able to read the room and know when you should walk away.
Like, if they're in the middle of a workout.
If they're mid-squat and you go up to her like, hey girl, like, you probably shouldn't.
Yeah, and then they don't want to talk to you and you're like, wow, you're obviously not my type. Like, maybe she's focused on doing, her workout, so just let her be for a minute and wait for a good opportunity.
For sure. And a lot of times girls will look at you and kind of give you hints that they're interested too. So if you pick up on those, definitely that's something to look out for. They'll give you a little side-eye glance, they'll smirk at you, they'll look away. I mean, sometimes it's very obvious, especially when you're out at like a bar or a club or something like that. I feel like that's where that happens probably the most. But to give a good example of how to approach at the gym, I was at the gym one time, just to give you guys a little example. I was on the treadmill and a guy came up to me and he was like, hey, he was like about to leave, and he was like, hey, I hate to interrupt your workout, but I can't leave the gym without knowing your name. Perfect. Nothing for me to be offended about. It was cute. He was lovely. I gave him my number. It was great. It didn't work out, but it was great.
Yeah, so that's definitely the way to do it. Like, acknowledging that you might be interrupting something, and like that says a lot, and that's going to leave an impression.
For sure. Yep. And he got my number, so it worked. Yeah. And he wasn't even really my type. He was just like confident and nice.
And polite.
Yeah. Next question is, at what point should you only be talking to one girl?
I feel like this is something that, it's not a certain number of days or weeks or months even.
It's kind of the feeling.
Yeah, if you just aren't interested in talking to anyone else, you'll know that. You'll just organically stop talking to other girls. Maybe you have like 3 girls you're talking to, 1 you're more interested in. And over time you're noticing that you're just not really into the conversation with the other 2 women. That's your sign right there. And
sure.
If you want to like quantify it into a certain time, I would say if you're talking to one person for more than a month and you're just not really interested in anybody else, then you just, you can let go of the other ones if there are any still lingering.
Yeah, I think if you're really starting to like where things are going with the girl that you've been seeing and you're still seeing other girls, you can't really get to know the girl that you really like if you're still seeing other women, right? If you really have to kind of narrow it down to just one, don't put all your eggs in one basket on the first day. Like on the first date, you can still be talking to a couple other people. Like it's not like you're married to her. But if you want to get to know her to a higher degree, and get to know her on a more personal level, really cutting off contact with the other women, I think, is kind of the way to do it. So you just have to kind of feel it out, like Shaylee said. Okay, question number 9 is, how do I deal with not liking my wife's friends?
So this could be dangerous. I think if she is the type of girl who her friends are number 1 priority in her life, basically, I would tread lightly. The only time that I think you should really speak up is if you, as the man in the relationship, or the significant other who's seeing maybe the friends are not treating them well, taking advantage of them, you're seeing things that maybe she isn't seeing.
Or maybe they're bringing out the worst in her. Or
that too, yeah. Those are the times it's okay to make comments about it. I wouldn't just walk around the house being like, oh, I hate so-and-so and I can't stand this person, because those people are important to her.
And it's only going to make her feel resentful too if you bash her friends. I think regardless of if you like someone or not, you should still be respectful.
Yeah, it's definitely about respect. You don't have to be best friends with them also.
No.
But just respect that those are her friends, and, you don't need to put your 2 cents in everywhere.
And also, I will say, a lot of times, the people that someone surrounds himself with says a lot about them. So if you hate all of her friends, it's kind of a red flag.
Right, but they're married.
Oh, so you're kind of screwed at that point. Sorry. So yeah, to round that one out, I would just say you can definitely, speak your mind and say if you think, maybe they aren't being a good influence for her. Maybe she's like a totally different person when she's around them.
Right.
There's a positive way to bring that up without shaming her or putting her down or making it so negative. I think women respond better to positive reinforcement anyway.
Correct.
Like if you tell a woman like, I hate when you do that, it just makes her upset. Like it's not going to make her change anything. So positive reinforcement is kind of the way to go. Or like, oh, I love your one friend, blah, blah, blah. Like you should make plans to hang out with her. Like if you like one of the friends, try to, convince her to hang out with her a little bit more.
Agreed.
All right, guys, that is all we have for today. I hope you all liked this video and found it helpful. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel to be in the loop for when I release new content. If you haven't already, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Courtney Christine Ryan. That's where I ask all of these questions to my followers and how you can participate in the next little Q&A that we do. So as always, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.